Okie dokie. Welcome everybody. This is another 6-minute video. This is where I talk about a random topic for 6 minutes in front of a camera and a microphone, completely unscripted. The point of these videos is not for likes, views, clicks, subscribers, but if you do want to subscribe, I would not mind, but I'm not trying to get famous or anything. The point of these videos is me and my journey to become an efficient speaker. I would love to be a great public speaker, and one of my tips and roads to get to that is posting one of these 6-minute videos every single day for the rest of this year. Anyway, with that getting said, let's get right into the topic. The topic for today's video is something that it's just hit me quite recently, and it's about Apple products. Hot take. I think Apple products are reasonably priced, at least getting to the point where they're reasonably priced. We have seen a lot of great things from Apple as of late. Apple's a really, really great company for some things. If you want the best consumer audio, I would go with Apple, maybe Bose, Sony, Sennheiser, maybe. But Apple has some of the best speakers on their laptops ever. You're going to be hard pressed to find a laptop in the same price range for the best kind of speakers that Apple provides. And their AirPods, top of the line noise canceling. The the sound quality is all right. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, but I would probably go Sony with those. And let's see here, what's next? And they've started to become a little bit more consumer friendly because the whole idea with Apple is trying to price people in a certain area that they attract a certain type of customer, and they also cover their expenses of making an operating system. So you're buying a very expensive product, and sometimes those products don't reflect the build costs or the quality of those build costs of what you're paying for. So one thing I've noted seeing is the MacBook, or no, the iPad minis. I've opened a couple of those up, and there's a lot of wasted space in those Apple or in those iPad minis. My goodness, a lot of wasted space, a lot of room for improvement. And I get that it's kind of there for keeping the weight under control, but you're not getting what you're paying for with the iPads. They're very useful tools. Don't get me wrong, but some of the products like I said, the iPads, you're not paying for an iPad. You're getting a big screen, yeah, but you're paying for that iOS. You're paying for that smooth note-taking skills, the Apple Pen. You're paying for those things. And Apple knows that you want that big screen and you want the Apple iOS, and you're going to get an Apple Pen with it. But we've seen better steps from Apple in the future or in the present. And the MacBook Neo was a huge step. Unfortunately, they have already increased the price by I think $100. So not the best step forward. And it only has 8 GB of RAM, which I deemed unlivable about 3 years ago to have 8 GB of RAM in your computer. I don't know how Apple does it, but apparently it's been a pretty good success. It's gotten the foot in the door to people buying into Apple products. Once you get them hooked, they'll want to spend more on the next product. It's a very good marketing decision. But putting all that beside, it's a good computer, and it does things that it like the build quality is outstanding. It will beat almost every computer in its price class, I should say. But it does miss some features that are just to be so long expected from any laptop in its class. Doesn't have backlight, doesn't have key backlights. Why not? That is so standard that it's such a slap in the face to the consumer to not have that. And there's one other thing I'm not sure. The color scheme, not the best either. They're forcing you to pick from some pretty bad colors. And what other thing? I'm not sure, but there was another thing that I was going to talk about. But moving on. In the recent economy ways with RAM, CPU, and storage, Apple's pricing relatively, and and I'm going to say relatively because once upon a time they were priced out of their mind. But as everything else has moved up in price, the tide has moved all the boats up to a certain price, and then even more. Apple products have stayed relatively the same. I'm not going to say that they haven't had their price increases. They have, but now you're seeing almost the same prices for things that Apple is offering very similar prices to nowadays. And it's very interesting because now you're not only paying for, you know, all the SSD, the RAM, the CPU, but you're paying very little now for the build quality that Apple gives you. And the build quality of Apple is very, very good. I have my qualms with the iOS. I have my qualms with how the company operates. I have my qualms with the features that they're willing to give out to their customers. But I don't have any issue with how their computers, their iPhones, their iPads are built. Very, very good. Obviously, I've already talked about this before, but every company drip feeds you minor improvements year by year to kind of get you buying a product every year. It's peak consumerism, but fortunately, I don't think a lot of people fall for that. If you're buying a new iPhone every single year, then you better be financially stable enough to do that, and hopefully you're smart enough to know what a bad decision that is. It might seem like a great decision, but you save long term than trading it in every single year. You just don't know it. It's a subscription plan for iPhone, and that's another thing. Apple gives you one, I think it's 500 gigabytes of storage for $1 a month. I think. I think it's like the free trial, but for $1 a month, $3 a month, you get like 500 gigabytes of just flat up cloud storage. That is an amazing deal. Apple, there's no other company out there that gives you that much storage for that cheap of a cost. And you've already bought an iPhone. You've already bought a computer, right? You're in their ecosystem. They have all this money from you. They like a ridiculous amount of money. And now they can sell you this storage that you're probably not even going to use that much in, but it's very cheap for them to host that for you, and you get to give them a little, a little bit more spare change in their back pockets for it, and it's going to help them out even more. But they're able to offer it at such a cheap price because of how expensive their products are. It's a very good business model, and I'm not going to knock them for it because it's genius. But Apple products, in my opinion, have gotten to a point where they are less unreasonable for their pricing. For the product that you receive versus the price that you paid, I think it's becoming a better and better deal as RAM, CPU, and storage continue to increase in pricing. That's my take on things. And I might be getting more Apple products in the future if they remain a solid ground in their pricing. But who knows? Anyway, that's all I have to say. See ya.